Good evening, Nigeria. A warm welcome to our viewers from around the world. This is TVC News Politics on Sunday, transmitting live from our studio in Abuja, the federal capital. I am Femi Akonde. Our eyes are still on Rivers State, where the twists and turns of the state of emergency continue to play out. But what is the bottom line of these events that are beginning to impact the polity? Could the end game be the 2027 presidential election? Well, the Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics has once again raised concerns over the emerging pitfalls being set against the continued success of President Tinubu's administration. The group says it has intercepted a plot by certain disgruntled politicians, enabled by what they describe as the so-called coalition to infiltrate the presidency and the leadership of the All Progressives Congress, feed them with lies and false allegations against President Tinubu's trusted men, and sow seeds of discord, foment disaffection, and estrange them from him. These groups say the coalition is using fabricated and well-laid-out machinations to diminish the trust the president has on key APC governors, especially in the northwest and southeast of the country. They say these agents of the coalition believe that the opposition cannot penetrate and upstage President Tinubu in these zones unless Governors Uba Sani and Hope Uzodinma of Kaduna and Imo State respectively are separated from the president, knowing their influence in consolidating support for the Tinubu presidency in the two zones, which are crucial in any electoral contest against President Tinubu. Well, joining me live in the studio is Ike Chidolue, the National Publicity Secretary of the Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics. Thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you, Femi. Thank you for having me.
Well, these statements I just read from the Forum of Nigerian Professionals alleging a plot to destabilize President Tinubu's administration. Are these facts that can be proven or just allegations or an attempt to stir up a storm in a teacup?
Yeah, just like I said, thank you once again for having me. And, you know, as the National Publicity Secretary for FNPP, I speak not just out of concern, you know, but it's patriotic for us. It's a patriotic call because, first of all, we need to know who FNPP is. It's a forum of Nigerian professionals that are in politics. You know, people that are moved by, is a national call, people that are accomplished in wherever they are, all walks of life, that have come to become part of politics, to provide, to look at what's going on and help administrations do better. You know, look at, you know, bring innovative approaches to things, especially apply international best practices in governance, and so to get better results. And to do this, we look at data a lot. We look at data, we scan, we scrub the net, we scrub the internet, we look at the conversations because, you know, data drives everything right now. Data, you can't fight with data. Data is there. And once we look at where the data, where the rumors, where the, you know, we can see what's going on. So we have seen the data. It's like intercepting, you know, is intelligence, what's going on. And what's going on is now clear to us. The opposition is in confusion. And their strategy is to, you know, in America, they call it the wrap-up smear. You know, is the wrap-up smear come with disinformation because it's going to be challenging to destabilize the president. But if you come in with disinformation, everybody knows the power of disinformation. You know, coming with disinformation, weaken his, you know, create a distance between him and his trusted allies. You know, they tried it before, and last month, if you remember, we raised alarm. When we saw what was going on, we started raising alarm because history repeats itself. We can always, it has to do with trend. You have to rely on history. And once we started seeing the trend, we knew it was time to react. Let me give you this. I know it's a long opening, but let's go there. A few months ago, we saw a trend that was going on. And why we were alarmed, because we saw history. Remember, in the past administration, we saw how the demise of the chief of staff to the then President Buhari affected. When Abba Kyari died, it was like an erosion of efficiency and effectiveness. You know, he comes with institutional memory. He's been there for a while, you know, so once he left, the vacuum of institutional intelligence and institutional memory went with him. The guy that replaced him, I mean, Prof, good man, but this thing goes beyond being a good man. The administration never really recovered from it. Another experience we can draw from was President Goodluck Jonathan. When Chief Mike Ogadome, his chief of staff, was removed, he didn't recover because Ogadome went with that institutional memory, effectiveness, efficiency, and once he left, Jonathan
and your group also raised
that's where I'm going
over
that's where I'm going.
Plots to discredit that was last year.
When we saw what was going on, and we saw they started spreading disinformation against Femi, because remember what Femi Gbajamiabila, Right Honorable Femi, represents. He represents institutional memory. He represents efficiency, coordination of the presidency. So once, and this opposition coalition and internal saboteurs, what they do is, you know, get at the core of the president's center, you know, fracture it, put disinformation. Once you fracture it, they know that once the president brings in a new person, the ship will continue to wobble until the next election. And that's what they, and once we saw it, you know, we went ballistic. We preached, you know, we shut all the news outlets, we started raising alarm. And, you know, you have to give it to Mr. President. He's a professional. He looked at the data, he examined the news, he filtered it, he looked at it. He took a decision a professional would take, and he stayed the course. He didn't listen to them. And that's why we're concerned now. We're raising this alarm.
So are these allegations, or you say from your data, the data you have gathered, and from what the information you have intercepted, it's credible?
Oh, very 199% credible. We see what's going on. Let's look into the...
So maybe let's talk about their tactics now. What's going on? What tactics are they currently using, and who are the targets?
The last one was targeted at the presidency. You know, if they destabilized it by removing Femi, chief of staff, it would have been a major blow. That didn't work. They went and re-strategized. Now they couldn't get at the core. Let's go to the regions. In the regions play key roles. The regional leadership, play a very key role. In the Northwest, Kaduna, everybody knows the significance of Kaduna to the north. It's almost like the significance of Enugu to the east. Enugu is the kind of the center.
Political capital.
Yeah. Kaduna is the political, but Kaduna in the Northwest, even if we're not saying the whole North, the Northwest, the leadership there is the governor of Kaduna State. And we've seen intelligence, we've looked at the data, we've seen who is talking, and we see they're trying to fracture that relationship. You know, there's a way you can put in a lot of turbulence in a communication that the governor will give up. You know what? Okay, do it the way you want it. I'm out of this. That's what they want to do, frustrate the communication, frustrate the relationship, you know, frustrate so that they will be talking with discordant tones. And once they succeed in doing that, and Governor Sani is out of the picture, you know, they fractured it. Then in the Southeast, you know, it's interesting. I'm from the Southeast. It's interesting. When the target there is Governor Hope Uzodinma, when Governor Hope came into power, APC wasn't really a party to reckon with in the Southeast. You know, but Governor Hope has shown leadership, bridge builder, you know, being able to bring a lot of people on the table. Over this past few years, he has started winning. He has done remarkably, winning people to the party, you know, strengthening the base, preaching the message, bringing the message of the president to the grassroots, you know, the renewed hope agenda, bringing it to the grassroots. And the opposition, the coalition, in their confusion, see that what's going on. If they can fracture the Southeast and fracture the Northwest, 2027 is oblique. So they want to do that, create that distance. It's like a communication distance between the ambassador, the president's ambassador in the Southeast, his preeminent ambassador, who is the governor of, because he's the governor of the Progressive Governors Forum. Once you fracture that relationship, it's over.
But some people also think that, they may not be able to succeed if they also do not have collaborators within the presidency.
It's just like, there's a story I heard Trump talk about some time ago during his 2016 campaign. He talked about a snake. This farmer saw the snake, burning in the fire, and he got it out. The snake was yelling out to the farmer. The farmer brought out the snake, and the snake, called himself around this farmer's hand, in appreciation. Then suddenly the snake, beat the farmer and injected the vial in him. And the farmer said, "Come on, snake, I just saved your life. Why did you, bite to kill me?" And the snake turned around. He said, "What you know is my nature. I'm a snake." So what's going on is that even internally, you have people that are like that snake. They've been removed from the fire. They've been absorbed by the presidency and by the party, but they can't lose their nature. They are snakes. So snakes are the ones that you call the internal saboteurs. The snakes are the people that are closer. They can whisper. They are wrapped around your arm. You've saved them from the fire, but they can't lose their nature. So they're going to preach those messages, create the discordant tone, make sure that the saxophone is not, coordinating well, and that's what they are doing. In the center, the target, incidentally, is the Senate president. Everybody knows what Senator Akpabio plays in the center. He's a stabilizing force. And so part of the message is that, he's a rubber stamp, they're rubber stamping, but I live in America. Every leader, every president wants to come into office with a Congress and Senate that will help his agenda, his bills to pass, his vision to move ahead. It's interesting that the opposition wants the National Assembly to be at countercurrent with the president. That's not what we want. In America, everybody see what's going on. The president wants, Trump wants the national, his, Capitol, Senate, and Congress to go along with his agenda, get his bills passed. Because that's the way the president can, succeed in delivering his dividend. And if I may go on a little bit, these are part of the things when we look at the president, why we as professionals align with his goals. Look at what he has done. People say, where are the gains? Where are the gains? People are suffering. It's like driving a vehicle. People don't really concern themselves with what's under the hood. They don't care how the engine works. They just want the vehicle to move. And under the hood, part of the things that we see that is encouraging to us is, before now, in the past 9 years, debt servicing, we spend 98% of our revenue and sometimes more in debt servicing. In less than 2 years, President Tinubu's administration has dropped that from 98% to 62.5%. Anybody that is somebody, that is an intellectual, that understands maths, even 1 + 1 is 2, knows that if we move from 98% of the revenue that we generate and we use to service debt and we drop it to less than 70, and we are now at 62.5, that is something worth celebrating.
Yes, the press statement from the Nigerian professionals, the firm of Nigerian professionals in politics, also caused quite a scare. People who are supporters of the administration were quite alarmed, and let's attempt to uncover this plot now if we can. When you say the opposition, the coalition, that is a bit vague. We all know the people who are leaders of this coalition, even though it's yet to be formed. But we know the people who are the leaders of this coalition. Can we point fingers? Can you point fingers at certain people who you would say are the ones fueling these plots to destabilize the administration?
I'm not a lawyer, but there are certain things that in Nigeria things are clear. Once you start looking at it, people know who you're pointing at. And, so we use the term not loosely, so that you guard yourself with allegedly. And because, I'm not ready to go to court with anybody, I'm not ready to go and start with the legal, battles, but they know. So when we say coalition, when we say internal saboteurs, the people know, and the people and the leadership we are talking to know who we are talking to. Because we are not just talking to Nigerians, we are talking to the presidency. We are talking to the people that the president listens to. And once you start calling it out, he knows. The president is a very intelligent person. He has experience in this game. And so once you start saying it, he knows. And he equally have his internal system of filtering the noise out of, from the real facts. So we're not going to name names. As the day goes by, we may, But right now, we are calling his attention and the attention of Nigerians to what's going on. And I know for the most part, just like I was saying, people are looking at, but the economy. And why it's important to point out the gains of the economy is if it is not provided, given to Nigerians in color, in living colors or in black and white, people may not really appreciate the gains. So when we say revenue, debt servicing dropping from 98 to 62.5, anybody that cares to know, no. And when we say settling, we had this obligation, trade obligation of over billions of dollars. In less than 2 years, they cleared it. I think it was $5-something billion. The government cleared it. How it affects our economy is that before now, international companies, we are pulling out because you're owing a company $1 billion, $200 million, $500 million for 9 years, for 8 years. You've not paid them, and you want them to continue to be in the environment. In less than 2 years, President Tinubu has cleared those obligations. So they can see, they can now have some confidence and stay the course. There is no need to leave. You can stay and do business. We're going to pay. And some of these decisions, they are not necessarily popular decisions, but they follow internationally best practices. They are well thought through, well scrutinized and applied. They are not popular opinion, but the best for the nation.
Yes, these are plots or alleged plots now, you say, by the opposition and some people in the coalition to destabilize President Tinubu's administration. Some people have said that this is gaining ground because if you look at the state of the nation, the impact of some of the necessary economic reforms implemented by President Tinubu's administration. All of these, they say, have created a fertile ground for this disinformation and deliberate misinformation to germinate in the minds of Nigerians.
Yeah, of course, that's the work of the opposition. What we don't want the president and his team to do is to become like because the opposition want to export their confusion into those in position. Because those in the opposition are actually people that have lost their position. Once you lose your position, you belong to the opposition. So oppositions are people that are not in position. So they want to export their own views to those in position so that you become like them, you lose your position. And those are the things that the president cannot afford to do. Those are the things that the president team cannot afford to do. And we trust that the president, in his wisdom and analytical strength, will see them for what it is. This is a time for consolidation, both for the nation and for leadership. You have to consolidate on the gains. You have to keep the costs. We are going through a time that you have to stabilize it. Look at what happened in, everybody keep quoting Lagos. Lagos is what it is because of what President Tinubu did as governor several years. And he helped establish a framework, a structure that successive leadership in Lagos, in the Southwest, really followed the blueprint. He helped develop a blueprint, and it's easy for people to come in and follow, and they go there. So whether he's not thousands of years from now, the blueprint is there. And that's why it remains the center of excellence. And all the other governors, for them, the blueprint for even other states is to go to, let's look at what Lagos is doing. is an envious position to be in. So what we want to do is for the leadership of our country, Mr. President, to not, it's time for consolidation. We need to consolidate on the game. We need to consolidate on his allies, the relationship he has with his allies. In the South, Northwest, Governor Sani is a must-do. Any cacophony of noise that is creating discord, we need to flush it down the toilet. In the Southeast, Southeast especially, Governor Hope Uzodinma, any cacophony, all this stuff, we're seeing it, we're gathering it, we're looking at it, we are sharing it, we are putting it on publication. They need to flush that stuff down the drain. Then in the center, the Senate President providing tremendous stability for the president, for the leadership. Any noise, because people are coming with, these things are not facts, they are sympathy. They come with, injecting, things that are not true into national consciousness so that it will be in the courts of public opinion. And once you put things in the courts of public opinion, you don't need facts, you only need emotions. And the emotional noise, this information, that's what they want to rally. They want to weaponize the emotions of Nigerians. And so what we're trying to do is to talk to Nigerians and talk to the president, so that our emotions will not be weaponized.
But as it stands now, what's the relationship between these men and the president? I know Governor Hope Uzodinma was at the presidential villa just yesterday, but do you have suspicions, or are you beginning to see signs that maybe indeed there might be or there is a falling apart?
It's not, it's like when you raise an alarm, it's like the weatherman. Weatherman tells you what they think, what they see from the trend, looking at the chart, is going to rain tomorrow. And so when looking at the chart and we see what's coming in, we see where they're going. But we know the president he's a professional. He has experience. So he's equally looking at data that we are looking at, and even seeing more data than we are looking at probably. So we announcing things, we forerunning some of this data, we announce it ahead of time, is to equally give consciousness to this data so that it doesn't happen.
So you feel because, when you raised an alarm over attacks on the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, and we saw all of that, it actually came true. You feel that because, that's, came to pass as predicted, these should also be taken seriously.
We have to give credit to the Mr. President. It's not because we raised the alarm that he took his decision, but we are happy that his decision aligned with what we have hoped. We are happy. We are really, that's why we're encouraged to raise alarm when we see, these inflections with these signs. We are not saying that we are telling him what to do, but we are saying that when we raised an alarm in the past, his decision aligned with what we prayed that he will do. And so this time, as we are raising the alarm, we know, he knows, he's a very smart dude. So we know that Mr. President is going to take decisions that will benefit his presidency and benefit the nation. And we believe that we all are going to be better off for it. The relationship is going to be better off for it. We're happy that he was there in the villa, Governor Hope, and his team. So it's a good sign. It's encouraging for us. And we are happy that Senate President is enjoying that support, and we want it to continue. We are happy that Governor, Sani is enjoying the. We know where the targets are going to fall, where they are shooting at. So we are raising the alarm before, while they are shooting, before it becomes an issue. We want to, nip it in the bud.
Yeah, the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, in one of his interviews, talked about a preferential treatment that Governor Obasani enjoys with the president. And it appears as if from his insinuations could also mean that, certain funds were made available for the governor to carry on developmental projects in the state. So, when saying that it appears as if people are targeting these men to try to drive a wedge between them and the president, people might begin to fault that.
The thing about it is that Governor El-Rufai, former governor, his attitude is almost like a mass shooter. He comes there, wherever the bullet falls, whoever is the victim. So he comes to the scene and I watched his interview. He targeted his own very dear friend and brother, Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu. He said Farouk Adamu Aliyu is out there to get him. He said the National Security Advice is out there to get him. He said the chairman of the, ICC is out there. I think at this point, everybody should disregard whatever El-Rufai says. It's of no consequence. He talks a lot. It doesn't mean anything. It's only if El-Rufai is in position, that's when everything, once he's out of position, he goes bonkers with his talk. So at this point, is a distraction. We should know it's part of the cacophony of voices that the president should not, once we see that trend coming, nip it on the bud.
So for the Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics, your alert on plots to destabilize President Tinubu's administration is credible.
Oh, very, very, very credible.
All right, then a fine place to leave it. Well, that's all on the program today. My guest has been the National Publicity Secretary of the Forum of Nigerians in Politics. And that's all on the program today. You can watch a repeat of this episode on TVC News YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. I am Femi Akonde. See you next time.